I'd like to bring the Dunbarton Board of Selectmen meeting into order. Thursday, October 27th, 7 P.M. I have all three selectmen present, administrators present, various town officials here tonight, and I have Mr. Leo Martel, recording for the citizens of Dunbarton. Gentlemen, let's go through the minutes first, get that taken over.
I'll make a motion to, accept the October 13, 2022 minutes as amended.
I second.
Any discussion on those, gentlemen?
All written.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Dave?
You need the next one, Justin?
I make a motion to approve the non-public meeting minutes of October 13th, 2022,
As amended?
as amended.
Okay.
I'll second Justin's motion.
Any discussion on that, gentlemen?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those are not sealed. For the record. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna open up for, public comment first. Are you in the first row? Well, most everyone's here for the public, for the, review of the hazard mitigation update, and that's, we're a few steps away from that. Any in the last row, public comment? No, okay, I'm gonna close public comment and go right into town business. I'd like to open up a public hearing for RSA 31:95-B, subparagraph Roman numeral 3A, to accept unanticipated sums in the money in excess of $10,000 from the state of New Hampshire. First amount of money is the municipal block grant in the amount of $87,495.05. And the second one is a municipal bridge grant aid for two bridges for a total of $47,719.
I'll second that motion, Mike.
Okay. Okay, this is just, state money, got in, Dave, I think is, Justin, I don't know about, any discussion on this from the public, any input from the public on this money?
Well, the first sum is for a highway block grant, and the second one is for bridges, municipal bridges, so.
We had brought this up back in September with the House bills and the Senate bills that were being proposed, and when we set the tax rate last week, the DRA was able to confirm one of the two that I've not yet received, but the fund should be allocated to us by the end of the year, so the purpose for holding off on the public hearings to get all the monies that we could potentially, because it costs money to advertise and whatnot, so, I feel confident with these numbers that we're all set to go.
Okay, any further discussion? I'm gonna close public comment, and, gentlemen, I'm gonna call for a vote.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay, we've accepted the money. Jeff, don't spend it all at one time.
Yeah, my understanding is that we have to use it for highway-related projects.
I think, you could chance for it,
Can't go to painting buildings and
Correct.
repairing roofs and stuff like
but
that.
I'm so gonna repair your roof.
Well, yeah, that's totally different.
I know. Jeff, why have you,
Yeah,
in detail here, I'm gonna go right on to the next item.
yeah.
Please, talk to me about the salt bid. We have
Salt bin.
the Eastern Minerals,
Yeah, well, that's what our salt will cost us this year.
and it's, basically, we have an offer of the bid price of $79.22 per ton of bulk road salt for the year 2022 to 2023 season.
Mm-hmm.
And, can you just give a little history on that?
Yeah, that bid you received comes from a company called Eastern Salt. The company we've been dealing with for a number of years is Granite State Minerals. And I guess they have combined forces of one's absorbed the other, or vice versa, and they're using the Eastern Salt logo from what Lean and I could find out. So it's basically it's the same company. I don't know, other than that, I don't know.
What did we pay, 72 last year?
Yeah, I think we paid $72.50 or so, it was something like that.
That's what I recommend.
So, it's gone up, obviously, the cost of fuel and all that.
But if we, gentlemen, if we don't accept it tonight, if we don't acknowledge it by October 31st, they can raise prices again.
And basically, they'll allocate what we need for
Do
this
they give you a
season.
pre-buy?
Well, it's not really a pre-buy, like last year, at the end of the season, before last year's price ran up, I filled our salt bin up with approximately 300 tons to start the year off, figuring there may be a price increase due to the cost of fuel and all that, and sure enough, it's transferring down through.
Yeah. Please. Thing is,
So it's basically the same company, but it's very different name.
when we send it in, you're gonna have to give an estimated tonnage you will require.
We always put down 1,000 tons plus or minus, and that works fine, and they're comfortable with that. They just like to allocate a certain amount, so they can do the ordering correctly, and they understand it's a bit of a moving target.
Okay, yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept the bid with Eastern Minerals Inc. at $79.22 per ton for bulk road salt for the year 2022 and 2023.
And that's delivered to our.
Yes.
My second.
Any further discussion on that?
Nope.
Okay.
Looks like, you just have to sign it.
Okay,
Yeah, both of them.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Justin, you vote?
Aye.
Okay, thank you for the input, Jeff.
Yep.
We'll get that out before the 31st.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. I
They'll
want,
fill it in, and then we'll just scan it.
I don't need to say, you were a day late, we're gonna raise prices on you, don't need that.
Yeah.
Okay, and while you're here, we had a bill from Dunbarton Telephone,
Yeah, I'm aware.
we got utility bills, you wanna talk a little bit about that?
I really don't know anything about it, other than you got a bill for moving poles and upgrading the wire system for the developer on Guile Hill Road.
Okay, I'm gonna let Justin go from here.
Yeah,
That's all I know about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's basically it, you know, you met with, Mark Andrews of the phone company and, the Eversource rep. No, I don't have the bill. Bill's in the packet. The Eversource rep out there, and from my understanding in our conversation at the planning board meeting, there was one pole that definitely had to be moved because it was in the road,
Correct.
and the others were moved on their.
Yeah, it was the Leah Laranger, the Eversource representative, who was in charge of line extensions, construction, and all that, came up with a plan of where the poles had to be to service the new houses that were gonna be built. And Mark Andrews was there to give his input, where he wanted to do what he wanted to do, and they came up with this whole plan, so I don't understand why the town got a bill for it at all.
Had nothing to do with the town per se, these weren't ordered by the town, except for that one pole.
And I think that bill says 5, we're gonna build for 5.
Yeah, let me read the bill to you guys, just see how it's Guile Hill Road subdivision. Move telephone poles, cable to new utility poles. Pole 15.5, 15Y, 15.6, 15.7, 15.8. Total cost of materials was $35.26. Total labor $1,500. Total bill was $5,026. I happened to see them over, eating one day at the sandwich shop next door here. And, they mentioned this, and, whether the developer pays this or the town, they had to move these because of because of development on that Guile Hill Road.
Yes, I believe so, yes. So, Eversource could facilitate the electrical drops for the house services.
Yeah.
And they came up with one plan, and then Mark Andrews from the phone company wanted to add another pole because his wire wasn't gonna be long enough. So,
But that's only one, there are 5 poles here.
yeah, that was one of the other ones, and there was 2 others that he wanted to change just because they put a better pole in, taller pole, I don't really know. I didn't really listen to much of that, cause I thought that was all between, and there was no mention of the town was gonna be responsible for paying for anything.
So is the developer then responsible as part of his development?
I have no idea what, if he had to pay anything to Eversource, I have no idea. I didn't ask, and,
Why don't I try and call him this week and try and get a little bit better breakdown so we know? And then we can either apply it to the developer or.
yeah, I don't know why all of a sudden we have to do it, because they've done plenty of those in the past, and we've never been on up for it, never received a bill.
but we acknowledge the removal of, moving of one
Well,
pole.
yeah, it was in there, it's been in the road for years.
Right.
I mean, it's been hit by the snowplow several times, it was physically in the road. And with the road improvement we required him to do to make it 18 feet of travelway with a 2-foot shoulder on each side, for a total width of 22 feet, the pole was in the road. So, yes, that one had to be moved, but it was really in the road before too. It just, it was stuck out, so you had to, would've run into it with a car.
Any comment from the planning board perspective, you think?
No, most of the comment was through Jeff, cause he was on site to do the
And like I said, nobody mentioned anything about that in the past.
Should any of this been caught at the planning board level as part of the subdivision, Jeff?
I don't know. I mean, we got it's not the same, but it's a subdivision on Kelsey Road, and we're requiring some substantial road improvements there. And we acknowledge that we may have to contribute some money for that, so they gave us an estimate for moving those poles. Unitil, who's the provider in that neck of the woods, isn't billing anything, they're moving there, doing their part of it for free. So there seems to be some pushback from the applicant on Kelsey Road's attorney about they're obligated to do it on their own anyway, but the phone company says they're not, so they had given us an estimate of what it would cost. And we roll that in with the exaction fee that we were gonna charge, we imposed on the developer with the approval of the subdivision. Since then, that applicant has filed a lawsuit against the town because they didn't agree with our process, I guess. And that's, right now, I don't know where that is legally. Our town attorney has to respond or answer the subpoena, or whatever it is. I don't really know
Not
what it
getting-
is. So that's a totally different scenario.
Right, not getting into that one too much.
Yeah. So we don't know the outcome of that.
Were these ones caused by the development of the subdivision?
Yes.
They are, so.
It's basically, as far as I can see, it was to service the new homes that are gonna be built.
So let's get a further breakdown, but it looks like to me that the developer is gonna end up owning part of this.
With the exception of one pole,
Right.
yeah. Okay,
And maybe it should have been caught earlier, but I think some of these things are evolving things in this planning stage right now that we're looking into more than we used to. Because they're on our existing roads that are getting widened because of the developments.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a number of poles that have been moved over the years and replaced, and the electric company has replaced the pole, and there's a telephone pole right beside it, the electric company has put new wires on the pole, but the original telephone wires are still on the old pole, so I don't know what the procedure is for all of this.
if, I would just make a quick observation.
Yep.
I would have said that should have been maybe rolled into, if it was identified. into
It
the
should have
exaction
been
fee.
brought up a long time ago, yeah,
Right.
not after the fact.
Right, but the applicant may need to be, made aware of the developer,
Yeah.
and I
I
think
don't,
that's.
I don't know if he is or not, I haven't.
So what I'll do is I'll call the telephone company and maybe have them break out that one pole you were talking about,
Yeah.
and then maybe resend us a,
Bill, the other company, just
Or
send the bill.
prepare another bill for the remaining 4 poles.
yeah, and I think that, whether the town addresses it with the developer or they do.
I don't think it's up to the town to be the collection agent.
No.
No.
This way.
I think they should just bill the developer,
Yeah.
that's how it would, okay? Let's put that, table that for now, and just for the action I want you to do, okay? Very good. Okay. The big event now, we'll wait all evening for. The hazard mitigation update, okay, it's a public information meeting. We have information packets, Lean, you wanna help me out here?
Mary, do you wanna start?
I'll start, and I'm the number one person here.
Number
I'm on to introduce the committee to you.
Okay,
So, this is a public information meeting. Thank you for coming. I'm gonna review the Hazard Mitigation Committee's planning process and our community profile. So, number one, the ensure that our town remains eligible for federal mitigation grant funding through FEMA, pre-disaster mitigation and flood mitigation assistant project grants during the next 5 years. The original Dunbarton Hazard Mitigation Plan was approved in 2005. The Hazard Mitigation Plan 2022 is the 4th version of this plan. Every 5 years, FEMA requires the Dunbarton Hazard Mitigation Plan be updated to current state and federal standards. This includes reapproval of an updated hazard mitigation plan by New Hampshire Homeland Security and Emergency Management and FEMA to ensure Dunbarton remains eligible for certain numerous mitigation, response, and recovery grants under FEMA's Hazard Mitigation Assistance, HMA, and Flood Mitigation Programs, FMA. The town of Dunbarton's most recent hazard mitigation plan was written in 2007. It expired this year. The Hazard Mitigation Committee was formed this spring. The committee comprised of town departments, boards, school volunteers, town staff, and the Central New Hampshire Regional Planning Commission. We all met between April 2022 and October 2022 to discuss and assess past potential disasters and other hazard events. We also reviewed critical facilities in vulnerable areas. We then developed actions to better protect the people, buildings, infrastructure, businesses, and property from disasters such as flooding, winds, winter storms. The Hazard Mitigation Committee used a public planning process, which was facilitated by Stephanie Alexander, and she is of the Central New Hampshire Regional Planning Commission out of Concord. She coordinated all of our meetings, discussions, and decision-making. There was no cost to the town. In-kind match provided through attendee meeting attendance. The Dunbarton Board of Selectmen appointed Hazard Mitigation Committee was comprised of the following individuals and met between April and October. And I hope I haven't missed anyone. If I have, it's in the full document. Lynn Como, Dunbarton Town Administrator, Donna White, Dunbarton Building Department Coordinator, Chief Chris Grimillard, Dunbarton Police Department, Chief John Wigan, Dunbarton Fire, myself from the Dunbarton Public Library, Manager, Allison Villiers, Dunbarton Historical Society, Jeff Crosby, Dunbarton Road Agent, Ken Swayze from the Dunbarton Planning Board, Clem Madden from the Dunbarton School Board, as well as Jeff Traxler from the school board. And then, of course, Stephanie Alexander, she is a senior planner. The town of Dunbarton's hazard mitigation meetings were publicly noticed on the town website and 2 community bulletin boards. All engaged citizens, businesses, and organizations were invited to attend and participate. We also posted a hazard mitigation community survey on town websites, and it was on the town website, police department's website, library's website. We received 23 responses back. The Central New Hampshire Regional Planning Commission in Concord also invited area emergency management directors to participate with our group as well. A few little factoids about Dunbarton. I'm sure you might know them, but maybe you don't. Demographics of interest. Our population, I believe, is 3,005 people now. That's up since our last mitigation plan. That's the 2022 census. It's a relatively small community and contains 30.8 square miles of land area and 0.5 square miles of inland water area. There are now 93.4 persons per square mile of land area. That's up from the last one as well. Comprised mostly of fields, forest, recreation, and wildlife ponds. Development opportunities are expanding, but are also still limited June 13th, 2019.
Good job.
So I'm gonna touch on the content of the plan, I'm gonna summarize it briefly because it's, I believe,
It's,
274 pages.
Exactly.
So of particular note, that Mary touched on, that community survey, I'm just gonna read the first two questions just so you can kind of get a flavor for what was asked and what was populated in the report itself. So question one is, which roads or areas are you most concerned about in Dunbarton when severe weather or other hazard events occur? And people could check, one or multiple answers, and of course, Page's Corner, was the top, and then, Route 13 in general, so Stark North, Stark South, Clinton Street, and then Concord Stage Road as well. And then some of your secondary roads that are heavily traveled, Blackbrook, Robert Rogers, and Grapevine. Question two is, how concerned are you about the following natural hazards, severe weather events, or human technological hazards impacting Dunbarton? So on a scale of 1 being not concerned at all to 5 extremely concerned, the respondents were most concerned about high wind events, public health hazards, severe winter weather, drought, and aging infrastructure. So from the community, those were the highest areas of concern. And when we talk about the hazards, there's some general hazard mitigation objectives, and it's broken down into earth hazards, extreme temperature, flooding, fire hazards, public health hazards, solar storms, wind hazards, winter hazards, human hazards, technological hazards. And to give an example of a few of these, a lot of those are self-explanatory, but public health, obviously coronavirus, influenza, drug use, things of that nature. Technological, focusing on scams. You've probably seen there's been some communities that have fallen victim to scams, pretty big losses, financial losses. And then human hazards, one example given is minimizing the risk of impact and damage to life, property, and infrastructure resulting from transportation crashes and fires involving transport trucks. And if you think about it, it's something that never really occurred to me, but Route 13 and 77 with all the trucks going down, some of them carrying hazardous materials, if there was some type of motor vehicle crash with a hazardous materials spill, that would be a major incident. So looking at all of those hazards, the Hazard Mitigation Committee listed out each natural hazard event, and I'll touch on the first top 3. But basically what we did is we scored them on our level of concern. So the 3 highest concerns, and it was essentially unanimous, severe winter weather was the highest. And we do have notable hazard events within the last 5 years involving severe winter weather. Public health, that was a 9.3. And we again have notable events in the last 5 years, and then high wind events as well. I think we can all recall major storms, the ice storm of 08, major windstorms knocking out power lines and things of that nature. So really the nuts and bolts of the plan and the dollars and cents, there's approximately probably about 20 to 25 pages listing out different mitigation action plans. So to give an example, develop a culvert replacement program to prioritize those at greatest risk of flooding and washout. It gives an action time frame of 4 to 5 years, and it talks about creating an Excel inventory to basically catalog all those areas in town. Another example is develop an inventory of the contents of the vault and town hall records currently located in various buildings. And then another example is to develop an engineering assessment to determine the safe snow loads for each town and school building to reduce the impact of winter snow and ice events. So really, it takes all of those hazards and it breaks them down into an Excel spreadsheet on what the town can do to mitigate potential loss and injury and risk to the town. So it is a very, very in-depth plan. Stephanie did a great job, but that's really kind of the quick breakdown of what's inside the plan itself.
My turn. Of all the people who participated in this, I probably gave the least amount of
No, I take the least.
Okay, well, you beat me, Dave. So Donna said, you're gonna do something, you're not off the hook. So she gave me a little bit to talk about, implementing the plan. And basically, the idea moving forward is to have regularly scheduled meetings, suggesting quarterly throughout the year, to go over issues, potential hazards, how to correct them, repair them, whatever. And, moving forward with that, making sure that there's an avenue or a way to go after the funding to do that through our taxes and whatever. We're not in a catastrophic area, so to speak. I mean, we're pretty much, we don't have huge floods here, has to be a very odd rain event to cause flooding, we have no large rivers or brooks or streams, but we do have occasional issues that we have to deal with. So it's basically to come up with a plan with that, and as everybody else said about the buildings, you know, what's the potential damage to the buildings, how to come up with a plan, so maybe we can alleviate some of that stuff. And it's just to be more proactive, instead of waiting 5 years for the plan to expire and then getting together and having to do all the work that was done from April to October. You're more caught up, so it's just more filling out the forms and filling in the blanks when the time comes, to make it easier on everybody. You know, the people involved in the committee and the central regional planning to submit the plan to FEMA. A reasonable time. There's a whole bunch of little things like that, but that, to me, that's what it is in a nutshell. And anybody who went to the meeting, and they're more than welcome to add to that, but it's just to have a better refined plan sooner and stay on top of things.
Okay.
From what I get. You know, in all departments, not any one department, any one or the other, it's just a overall town thing.
Can I just touch on that briefly? So one thing that was brought up during the meetings was, we had to rely on the fire department and the police department for their calls, and just bringing out for discussion really reminded us that we do have these events that you've forgotten about, that might have been a year, 2 years ago, that nobody really, as time passes, you forget. So the big part of all of this is to try to get every department that's involved with hazards to document what it is that they've been involved with, so that we have a good record keeping of the events on a yearly basis, rather than, like Jeff said, every 5 years, but it's not quite as fresh in our mind, and that might help us speed things along, and then, be able to complete the updates on a more timely basis.
Okay, so I'll wrap it up. First of all, as the management director, I'd like to thank everybody that participated. Like I said, some people came to one meeting, some people attended every meeting. You know, it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a weekday, it's hard to get people to leave their jobs. Some did it, on the internet. Clem and Jeff did a lot online, which was great. Stephanie obviously was our head leader. Donna was the point of contact. She did most of all the legwork. Lean had to do a lot of researching on seeing if money's in the CIP, what a project cost, what a project might cost coming down the road from past expenses we had. So there was a lot of work involved in it. As Lean said, the fire department, police department keep logs, so we can go back through when there's events and see what the dates were and what the event was. And the police department's good at taking pictures, so we get pictures. I take some, I'm not as good as the police department taking pictures, but, so we had those records to go back on. So it, you know, it's a long process, every 5 years. I mean, this is like the 4th one I've been involved in. Stephanie has been involved from the get-go, and, you know, basically guide us through all the paperwork. Typical federal government, paperwork you gotta go through. They're changing their process, so that's why we kinda gotta hurry up and get this in now, cause they're gonna change their format, and they're gonna require some other, things that we don't have in this plan, so, it was kind of important to get this wrapped up in this calendar year. A lot of towns I'm as good as Dunbarton is in keeping their plans updated, we're pretty good on it. Again, facility infrastructure issues we came across, facility issues, some are gonna cost money, but, you know, it's all in the plan. You know, one that we touched on that a lot of people, it's a new issue is extreme heat. You know, if you believe in climate change or not, we had 20-something days last year over 90 degrees, some heat index was 100 degrees. And a lot of towns open cooling centers for their residents. Dunbar doesn't have a cooling center. We have no buildings that are air conditioned, and it's a municipal building except for this building right here. So, in fact, last year, I did have an elderly person call me about, you know, maybe getting to an air-conditioned facility. Luckily, her neighbor took her in, or she could come up here. So, in this plan, you know, we're looking at a building, maybe you could air condition, you know, a large building. You know, obviously, the town hall can't, town office can't house people that need to get in and out of the cooling center. And cooling centers are becoming more popular. You listen on the news when there's a heat event going on, towns after town open up a building in their community that has an air conditioning. We just don't have any in our town. So we discussed that in the plan, maybe we could heat the community, air condition the community center. You know, get the grant, get an AC unit into a larger building, so we could offer that service to residents that we can't offer right now. So those are things that, you know, that we came across in the plan. Solar events, that's kind of a new thing that we never even had heard of. Solar storms affecting communications. So, you know.
Some of it was happening on 5G.
Right. So those are all things that, you know, we discussed, and again, thank everybody that participated. If you only made one meeting, that's great. If you made them all, that was even better. You know, we had a good time at it. Discussed some things, joked around a little, but, we got it done. So anyways, what's the next step? We gotta, request and receive approval pending adoption from the New Hampshire Homeland Security.
So it's for the report, you prepared is forward to the Homeland Security.
Yep.
We wait for their approval.
Exactly. And then, when we get all that done, and as more towns, you know, submit their plans, it takes longer time out to get it done. So the quicker we can get it in, the better off we are. Then you gotta adopt the plan. So, the Board of Selectmen holds a public plan adoption meeting and signs the certificates of the adoption. Hearing's not necessary, it doesn't have to be a public hearing. Then we request and receive formal approval of the plan. That's issued by federal FEMA and New Hampshire Homeland Security. And the plan will lapse in 5 years, as we said. And then we implement the plan. The committee meets, like we said, we discussed, like Jeff said, we're gonna just meet, you know, maybe 4 times a year instead of every 5 years. So we can, document and, log stuff, so the next time we do the plan, hopefully we have a little better record keeping and, of events that have happened. It's just gonna be easier for us to research stuff that, like, now we gotta go through, you gotta go through 5 years of fire and police logs and who remembered what storm and, you know, oh yeah, that's right, we lost power that day, you know, whatever. So, that's the plan, that's what we plan to do. So, once it's submitted, like I said, you will be presented with the paperwork that needs to be filled out.
I'm concerned that we take the proper steps on the way. So some of these recommendations will require funding.
Oh, yeah.
And we just wanna make sure that, they're included in our funding process, our budgeting process. And, so we'll probably prioritize those high, low-hanging fruit items, which we can, have major impact to the town positively, and not necessarily be, a budget killer.
Would there be any, grants available through FEMA that aren't after the fact, like, I know FEMA's there after there's a storm or after this, and we've got the money and it's shown here.
More proactive ones.
Yeah.
More proactive, other than those gopher grants we got?
Yep. Yep.
Because I think, like you said, you know, the cooling center or something
Yep.
like that, as a town, we can apply the
Yep,
county.
there's grants available through FEMA for, you know, even like some of this culvert replacement stuff, you know.
As we sit in this room, we do have a grant master of all grants in this room, and we can definitely utilize him.
Yeah, and there's other people in town that volunteer their services to write grants too. There's quite a few people live in town that
Okay.
are pretty good at grant writing, you know. Me not being one of them, but, anyways, but yeah, I mean, you guys will probably have to go through the plan. You got nothing to do, sit down and read that document
Yeah.
and see what you see as a priority for the town. You know, some things are long range, we had to put them in different, priorities, short range, medium range, and long range. You know, some stuff like repairing a culvert or something that's on some back road, cause Jeff wasn't at all in the meeting, so we had to do a lot for him, and what we thought his culvert, when his culvert needed to be
We
replaced.
guessed it, honestly. Let's put it that way.
We put a lot of his culverts on a long range.
To touch on that, part of the, categorizing it was also, how do you fund it? So, some of them, like a culvert, we decided it could go through the budget, and others would be, through taxes and things like that. So there's different steps for how you prioritize it and how will you fund it in the document.
Nothing through taxes.
Just trying to guess on prices and stuff too, you know,
Yeah.
like what a culvert replacement would cost. You know, depends on, obviously, on how much work is involved on it, but, you know, so some of those figures might be guesstimates on some of that, that we didn't really have the facts on.
Okay, turn around and tell him from the state,
It depends,
So
she
we-
said, I can't remember, she said
4 years.
Right.
a couple months, I think.
She's gonna submit our plans by November 15th, I have to wait for the minutes, and then, she'll hopefully hear back from, these organizations by January 15th. And if she does, she will notify my office to, put it on the agenda to adopt it, and then the selectmen will follow through with that, and then, her goal is February 1st, and then, once Central New Hampshire has the certificates, then she'll obtain the formal.
so for the minutes today, we need the motion to accept this draft plan and have it submitted to.
I don't think we do at this
No,
point.
not at this one, this is
Okay.
just an
Just public.
informational.
Okay,
Public
but we just need to make sure it's in the system, she's working it in the system.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
why does she need minutes? That she needs-
Because it proves to them that we have discussed this
Discussed,
with the
okay.
board.
So I just wanna say that, being a selectman's representative on the board, I only made the one meeting, but I followed their meetings through, by email. And as Lean stated earlier, it was amazing to go through and see, cause you don't think we have anything happen in Dunbarton, but you read back through and you remember the ice storms and remember Jeff plowing, trees and brush off with the plows off the roads when we had the windstorm, so it was kinda neat to go down through and see that, all listed out and see how many that we actually had. And,
Blizzards that you forget about, you know.
yeah,
They even read pollution.
And for the public, they need to realize that without this plan, we become ineligible
Exactly,
for federal mitigation.
that's one of
Money.
the key points is we can recoup some of that.
Right.
Money.
So that's probably the driving factor here, to make sure we get a plan in place.
You know, in Dunbarton, obviously, we don't have any major rivers, we have limited highways in town, we're high up. So, you know, we don't have flooding issues like a lot of communities do. You know, floods obviously devastating to the homeowner, take their home and everything else up here. We're high, dry, but, you know, we do have storms. You know, we have severe thunderstorms, wind events, we've had ice storms.
We get
We've
snow
had
when
some,
nobody
we had
else
some,
does.
yeah, right, and we've had flooding, you know, we've had some flooding, but it hasn't been major flooding like, you know, like an Olmsted or a town like that.
we had
So,
a 75-year, flood there back in 2006.
Mother's Day,
Yeah, that was a decent size.
yeah, so, you know, but like you said, you need it on the books, so when we do have that event, we can get reimbursed.
Any other comments regarding this hazard mitigation plan? Any other comments?
From the board, I wanna take my hat off to everybody that was able to attend those meetings, they did a great job for the town getting through those meetings, and Stephanie did a great job as well, organizing and sending out emails to make sure that people could at least try and make the meetings.
Yep.
I think the process was pretty decently run.
Yeah, we had pretty good turnout, I mean, you know, most meetings, so. Depending, you know, like I said, between, right during summer, people have vacations, you know, a lot sick, people working, I mean, it's a tough to get people to meet at 2 o'clock on a weekday afternoon. But
She gave us time in between, we didn't meet every single week. We had, you know, a couple, 2
Yeah,
weeks, 3 weeks,
So we could gather our information and pass it on, but, you know, Donna did the brunt of all that, you
yeah.
know, keeping the paperwork done and coordinating
She worked,
liaison. So, you know, fortunately, it's full-time people that could do that.
That's the document, so the public reviewing it, it's a relatively,
Both
a few pages, just a few
I'll
pages.
just post it on the website.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, everyone, for this public information meeting, and, we look forward to having this completed before the end of the year. Okay.
we're sure they are.
Yeah, sure. No, the issue is, we don't wanna get stuck into new requirements and have to start again.
Exactly.
Okay, moving on to the agenda, Joe. We have a Board of Assessors request for some additional funding.
You have an invoice, Mike? Do we all have a copy of that, Lean?
No, I just left it in the packet, it's got that yellow piece of paper attached, that's the one.
Yeah.
So basically, when I received that, invoice, I saw the size of the invoice, it kind of, took me by surprise. In the last 3 years or so, the Board of Assessors, when setting their budget, have reduced the assessing line, because there was always some, funds that would lapse. So rather than raise more money than needed, they were trying to be conservative and reduce their budget. But what I found was, the assessing pickup year goes from April 1st to March 31st. So there's kind of an overlap of 2 years for what they have to review and what they have to collect and what they have to give, prepare for us in order to implement the new values in our town for pickups. And in 2019 and 20, which overlap, and we were in the middle of COVID, and what you'll see on the very back page is that there was only 140 permits that they went out and reviewed, and they are currently under a multi-year contract where they will note the number of hours that the individual went in town to review these permits, but they don't bill us, and then they bill us once. So back, 2 years ago, we were billed for 140 permits at $30 a permit. This year, the number of permits picked up was 360, on that first page, Dave, that I highlighted.
328 hours, Lean told me.
Well, it's actually 328 permits, excuse me, 300,
It's hours, cause they
it
charge
is
us $30.
hours. But what you can see is the number of permits more than tripled, there's 360, if you look at the report that's attached, there's like 300 and, I think it's numbered on.
140 pickups.
That's the old one, that's the old year, and if you go back one page, all the lines on the lined report show the number, and I wanna say it's 386 permits that they had to go out and look at. So typically they will schedule the individual for a full day, so to maximize the review process, and then he collects the data, and then they eventually enter that into the system. So that being said, we've had a spike in building permits, current use permits. Those current use permits are not part of the contractual, that's an assessing service that we reach out to on an as-needed basis. They review equalization, they also, will, assess the current use penalties. So they do the bulk of an assessing person's job without having to be in the town. So for the cost savings, they are very reasonable, but this year, with this new bill that, is pending, they will go over their budget by approximately $6,000. Because they have one invoice that I had to send out to MRI to.
Over their budget by $6,000?
Yeah, in the past, their budget for pickups was $15,000. The last 2 years, we've reduced it down to $10,000.
COVID put a,
And this bill is 98.
Right, and that's just for the new value, assessment pickup. So
It's
they're,
328 hours, the whole other year was 140 hours.
that's right, and that's what I'm getting at, is that's a moving target. We don't, unless we communicate, my office communicates to the board of assessors to advise them that we've got multiple subdivisions.
Where are you looking at the pickups, the new pickups?
That report right there, that multi-page. Right here, this is all this calendar year, so you can see that.
roads are.
The reason why I'm asking all that, only because we just reviewed the number of permits for our building department. It was, you need to have 328 in 1 year, so this is,
Oh, no, our permits are up there, but, they encompass things like propane, electrical, a number of different things.
has Donna verified these
Yep, yep.
permits are accurate?
Yep, we were actually looking at her, revenue for that.
So here's part in 2021, starting in August,
Right,
right?
it starts April first, so those are the pickups that started last April first, and they were completed by March 31st of this calendar year.
Well, I'm reading it, was viewed on 8/19/2021.
Yeah.
Is your first one shown here. And they go through all of 2022 until 5/4/2022.
Right. But that's combining all the, new property value that they put into the system. And the board of assessors didn't know how to handle the overage, and they, typically, a department, when they budget, present a budget and they go over, they should bring it before the board so that they can get the additional funding, or notify you that because this is under contract, that we're obligated.
That's the issue, it's not a discretionary expense, we're obligated on the contract to, pay them.
I mean, this is something that they can review for the next contract, to maybe eliminate, things
Well,
like, propane or, that type of permit, but what the assessor typically does when he goes out and looks for a small permit like that, is he will review and assess things that may not be picked up, and maybe pick up sheds, correct sketches, so there are a number of things that they do when they go out.
Lean, you and I have time to view this before we pay it?
Yeah.
Something's not working out right with the dates here. They're missing entire months of viewing anything.
Yeah, they don't always come out. I bulk them out towards the end of the year, and then if there's a mild winter, they will come out and start their annual pickups a little bit early. But it's technically something that they wouldn't apply before the April first date.
Yeah. If you can, I just wanna go through all the numbers.
We have time on this one.
Yep.
We'll just table this for the next meeting, and that way we can get a chance to.
I can send that to you electronically.
Okay.
That'd be great. All right, so that's tabled. All right, now, let's talk about the next fund thing. The 2023 Health Trust. No, let's talk about something even nicer, the tax rate.
All right, so, I received a call from the Department of Revenue last week. She had, as the board knows, the setting tax rate has changed from how they did it many years ago. Based on our financial statement from the from our auditor, that gets sent to the DRA. They have a number of different categories that they have to review, to establish the tax rate, and one of them is, the MS 232, which you do not have in front of you, but I did bring to your attention back in September. It's the projected revenues that we use to set our operating budget and present to the voters. With that information, then the DRA works with, what the change amounts are that they get from, at the state level. And, their form goes, our form is the 232R, the R is what, it represents that they've reviewed it. They then take it and put it into the, MS 434, which is for the adjusted revenues. And you can see on your copy of the MS 434R, the middle column is the change amount. So we had a, budgeted, conservative budget of, meals and rooms, tax distribution that we set pretty much the same every year, 135. This year, there was an additional 131,622, which increased our estimated revenue adjusted to 266,622. These numbers that are changed in here have to be used to set the tax rate. So just going down the line, highway block grant was another one that was affected. We budgeted 90,000, there was an additional 12,432. So we set the tax rate with 104,432 for revenues on highway block grant. State and federal forest land reimbursement, that is the payment in lieu of tax, which is a small federal check that we get annually. I typically leave it at an even number of 3,000. This year's federal grant came in at 3,288, so we adjusted that. Flood control, which the board is aware, we've been having issues with Massachusetts reimbursing the state of New Hampshire for the services that we provide for them through the flood control area. This year's $70,000 change amount was a little bit lower at $68,776. And then the other railroad tax, that's where I would put your milfoil, which is the under the grant and the warrant that we presented to the voters. And this year we had that House bill that from New Hampshire retirement, where the municipalities were gonna get a small, or get a disbursement of overages. Ours turned out to be $7,053, and so that increased that estimated adjusted number to $9,073. So overall, what we set the tax rate was with an additional $150,171. So then going into the tax rate, after confirming all of our revenues, she confirmed the information from the auditor's financial report. She also reviews the MS1, which is the new property assessments that the assessor picks up, and that we incorporate into the form so that they can look at a property values. We picked up about $6.5 million in new property assessment. Unfortunately, we had to give back, reduce the utility values by about 500,000, just a little over. So overall, we picked up approximately $6 million in new property assessment.
Less 500,000.
Less, well, it would have been 6.5 million, but we ended up setting the tax rate with 6
No,
million.
is
New property
utility
assessment.
we're not done with that.
We're not done, that's still ongoing.
Okay.
So that being said, to go down, breakdown for the tax rate, the municipal town tax rate dropped, from $4.05. The new tax rate for 2022 is $3.83. The county was flat, did not change, it's at $2.53. The local education, went up slightly. Last year was $14.89, this year is $15.29. It would have been a little bit higher, but they also received a New Hampshire retirement distribution amount, and that came in at about $22,000. And the DRA did inform me that they applied that to the additional surplus so that they could help reduce that tax rate. So it came in a little less than what they were projecting at their school hearing. That's at $15.29. And then the state education, they dropped a fair amount. The last year was $1.94 for their operating budget, and this year came in at $1.33. So the new tax rate for 2022 is $22.98, which is a 43-cent decrease over 2021. So that was a nice surprise for a lot of people that were expecting the tax rate to go up. Any questions?
Values.
I'm happy. The thing is, I'm very cautious about next year though, but this is a good thing for this year.
And I do wanna point out that, when I, met with Michelle over the phone, she did tell me that I was the first town in the state of New Hampshire to set the tax rate, so I felt very proud of that. And, I did get a few emails and comments that people watch these things and they're well aware of how, the emails will go back and forth through the tax collectors association, for example, asking if anyone's set their tax rate yet. Because there is a lag once, if you don't get your paperwork in on a timely basis, then it just snowballs and you get pushed to the back, so. We got it done, we got our, a third of our bills mailed today, and then we'll have the rest of it out and mailed by Saturday, so we'll meet our deadline, and our taxes will be due, December first.
Okay, thank you, Lean.
Questions, Justin?
No.
Good. All right. Now, we'll go on to the, item 7, the 2023 health trust increase. Basically is essentially increase of 11%, this is for a dental increase of 1.5%. Remember, the dental is optional, but there's an increase in healthcare cost of 11.7%.
I think that when I've, seen newsletters go through, they were saying that the COVID had an impact with, a lot of this, the healthcare increases, people were home and, going to the hospital more often than they normally would.
Am I the only one signature on here?
Only one, if the board accepts this, there is a signature that's required.
Right.
And with that, this will be the information I set the, health and dental budget for next year, and then I'll send out notifications to the employees.
It was 11% across the board for all categories?
11.7, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so we do offer the two plans.
Justin, do we have consensus for me to sign?
Yes.
Yep. Maybe we were fortunate it went down in the past. Kind of back at the even amount now.
Open enrollment for the employees starts in December, so it's critical that we get this rolling or the decision made so I can, send out newsletters to the employees.
We're going with the same plans we had.
Yeah. And then-
The choice of the election of two different choice plans.
Yep.
All right, that we continues. Next thing is insurance. We talked about, it's the property and liability insurance for the town.
Yeah, and then there's also the workers' comp insurance that we get through Primex, and then the unemployment. And we had a slight increase of, $3,420 for the property insurance, that covers buildings and vehicles. And then we had a slight decrease on workers' comp of $1,333, and then we also had a slight decrease on unemployment, insurance of $408, so the overall increase for the three portions of Primex is an increase of $1,670. That does not require a signature, but there's a 45-day requirement if the board does not, agree to renew the contract, that we have to put something in writing, so.
Okay, Lee, if we elected not to go with Primex, which is a popular avenue for municipalities, what would be the next step for the board?
Well, we'd have to put it out to bid, and then that could take some time. And we did revisit this about 5 to 6 years ago, where I reached out to an insurance company, I think it was Prudential, and, because I was familiar with the individual, he reviewed what we had currently for our plan rates, and said from his, business level, he said it was almost impossible to match. So Primex is a big resource for government and for municipalities in finding a better cost avenue for, insuring town buildings.
Okay. Do we have consensus to,
Let's say, let's go ahead and
make a
send them to keep Primex.
Am I all set to
Yeah.
notify them, or?
consensus, yes, we all,
Yes.
full consensus to keep with that Primex.
Okay.
Okay, next item,
You gonna make a motion for that?
motion required?
Yep, so accept the name anticipated, yep.
I'll make a motion for RSA 31:95-B, Roman numeral 3, paragraph B, to accept $153 from the Salvation Army to support mitigation and assisting with welfare claim.
I'll second.
Discussion, we're not gonna release the name due to privacy considerations. This is just extra money coming from a charity helping out one of our residents.
Yep, and I just wanna touch on that, our welfare director and assistant welfare director have been doing a really good job in, making sure that they tap into any, additional resources, because had we had to, assist this family on our own, the budget would have been more than 50% depleted, and that's just for one family, and we have not gotten into the heating season yet, so these were, you know, sources that they were able to tap into, and they've done a really good job.
Three, they've been good. All in favor? Aye. As kudos onto the welfare director, Lee.
I will.
I'll do the next one, Mike, again.
Yeah, it's my favorite one.
All right,
I think, go ahead, I'll just on purpose, I'll do the discussion, but go ahead.
I'll make a motion to accept, per RSA 31:95-B, Roman numeral 3B, to accept proceeds from the sale of a town vehicle through auction after fees of $2925.00.
I'll second.
In discussion, if you recall the old police chief's vehicle, the one that had Bondo on it, when it was falling apart, the one if you got into it, you may never get out.
Ford?
But the thing is, the fact that we didn't have to pay money to get it towed out of here is a win for the town, so I'm ecstatic.
You can't believe how much of that stuff goes for an auction.
Yeah, and before fees, it was what, you got the check right there,
A
isn't
little
it?
over 382 for the day or something.
Yeah,
So I'd like to, the thing is, we have a request from, the current chief to keep this, money and apply it, so we can pencil it in on the warrant, towards his next vehicle he's gonna be requesting, and I have no problem with that. And so, I don't think we have to, we can put into, this warrant fund, but I would just keep it in the general fund, and keep that amount in any, shall I say, any proposal we have on the floor, that we could apply $29.25 towards any purchase that would be approved by the voters. Okay, gentlemen, you're happy with that?
Yeah, I think that's what's gonna go to the general fund, though, so it's gonna be kind of weird, but.
it's surplus. You can't put anything into a capital reserve without warrant, so
That's right.
we've received it, you guys have accepted it, it's now in your surplus. And what he's asking for is that we apply it to his, for additional funding for deposit into the capital reserve.
Right, but the thing is, we can defer capital reserve, but one less motion complicated issues before the voters, but it's included in the motion that we have in our budget, in our, funding, we have close to $3,000.
Yep, and then in the event you approach the voters with a new vehicle, then it may be applied to the new vehicle rather than putting it into the capital reserve.
Right,
So there's options.
Yeah, I would like to keep it, keep the verbiage that we have that much money in the general fund that was kind of like remaining from the old vehicle. Okay, then gentlemen, all in favor of them? Aye. So we accepted the motion, the thing is, we'll go into the general fund, and we'll just keep that amount on your file.
It's on a sticky note.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, I'm gonna go right to the next.
I don't remember that.
We're gonna go to mailbox now. All right. We're gonna have, all right, we have, NHMA, they have, emails and letters from us, and they're kept on at NHMA, and they're requesting permission to destroy those emails and mails that we have sent them. I asked Lean about it this morning, this afternoon, or other, why do we have to is there anything we have to retrieve? And the question is, anything that we've sent, we've kept copies for.
Anything that was critical, I have a binder that's, so that I'm not reinventing the wheel. But there is anything that's correspondence, they have to retain for 6 years by, under the right to know law, they have to hold on to that.
Yeah, I've seen your file out there, it's pretty extensive.
So
You have,
I have no issue with,
you have the stuff with road issues that, keep coming up and stuff, right?
Yep,
I I have no, I don't think we have to go back and ask them for copies of it.
No, so I can let them just destroy it.
Well, I need a consensus from the board, please. We are having, let them destroy it.
Where do you wanna make them keep them?
No, we'd have to go
We'd
get
have to
them
go
and
get
take
them,
them.
Oh,
Yeah, we don't have room, so.
no, we'll just re-ask them the question if we need.
We do, that's typically what happens. But as I've learned over the years with the board changing from year to year, the real important ones are important to keep in the binder, because it's like, we've already had that question come up, so it's very helpful. But they're good resources for us.
Okay, Lean, you got an action item there.
Okay,
All right, next item, Justin got, initiated a quote for the, garage door replacement seal at the police station.
Yep, so I got, we actually got a couple different quotes. Got one from Aloha Doors, that came in at $195 for a replacement of the door seal. I received another phone bid from, Rainer Door Authority. That one was $152 for labor for the first hour, and the rubber seal starting at $3 a foot. The door's 9 feet long, which would be $27. So that's a total of $177 starting. I also got a third quote from Overhead Door Company out of Concord over the phone. That was $115 for labor and $81 for the rubber seal, which comes out to $196.
How much was Aloha?
$195 for labor and the seal.
And we weren't 100% sure that was gonna be a true, 100% mitigation.
I don't think it's 100% fixed, but I think it's a good start to help the moisture. I mean, between that and, you know, rodents and stuff going into the building, I mean, I think it's a good start.
Is that a Hawaiian seal?
They have seals in Hawaii?
So what is it you?
All right, what do you recommend?
I'd say we go with the Aloha Door. They were the quickest to get back to us. And
Okay, I have no issue with that, it's a small amount of money.
Yes,
Do that in maintenance fund.
Thank you, Justin, for looking into it.
Yep, I'm, might as well get to that too. Still working on the gutters.
Okay.
I've received 2 quotes from gutter companies. Third company hasn't gotten back to me in a few days, so I'll reach out to a 4th company. Because 2 of the quotes are significantly different, so I wanna definitely get a 3rd quote.
Yeah.
So I'm still working on that.
Okay, thank you very much.
And, trying to get an answer here by next meeting.
Okay. If you need
Give
something,
Lee the authority.
Yeah, like I said, I'll just let you know when I'm
yeah,
gonna
contact
make
them,
consensus,
get
yeah.
it done.
Just so you're
too
aware.
small for.
sounds good,
Thank you.
thank you.
Since, we got the police chief talking, we're gonna talk about him for a minute. He, basically, scared another officer away from us. No, that's a little bit of humor. We're losing another officer, he's taken a position for higher pay and a position in another, hometown, a little bit closer to home for him. And, so it's, we're gonna discuss that in non-public tonight, some of the actions, I just wanna put that out there, we'll further discuss it later on this evening, okay? Anything for the public you wanna mention about that? Okay. Okay, there's a, recall, we had a former selectman who passed away, Steve Kennedy. There's a, Fred Mullins gave us an announcement last week, but he also gave us an email copy of the, if you wanna read about the gentleman, there's a picture of it. So it'll be in the box so you can read it.
Is it all past tense now, Mike? Is this, services happen?
I'm gonna die again.
I'm just,
No, I just didn't know, being former selectman, do you want to see me? Your thoughts, Lean?
I didn't even look at the obit, I think it's passed, but I might be wrong.
it's passed.
Okay. Took care of that.
Okay, the other item next is, the DOL letter out, the safety inspection of all town buildings.
Yeah, they paid a second visit with the official report. It's more in detail and specific to the buildings. I plan on forwarding each section to that department, and I think when we had our joint loss meeting, Justin had asked the joint loss committee group to do it within 60 days, November 1st.
Yeah, give us some
photos, give me something in an email that things have been fixed and corrected, so that,
You can draft a letter of response to them.
yes,
Basically, department's providing you 30 days to abate each violation found, provided response detailing how the items of concern have been abated, provided no later than November 10th, it's right around the corner. So, that's
a lot of them have already been addressed, so I
Right.
think that it should be,
as I recall, there weren't many, but
No.
we should just,
No, and they're all minimal things.
right.
They're all simple things that they're taking.
I just don't wanna be late on that.
Things that
easily.
require budget, they have said that we understand it could be, cost involved, that
You
we,
can even just state that in your letter back to them.
Okay, very good.
The ones that have to be moved to next year.
Okay, if you recall, there was a issue about the residential type refrigerator in the commercial, section of the community center. I understand it's still being lifted, can you update on that?
I think I put it in your.
Yeah, we have an email.
Clem just told me tonight to take care of and moved.
Oh, very nice,
Okay.
nice update.
I asked him a question, and he was, I'm like, did you find a spot for the refrigerator? He says, I'll move it, so I'll take care of it.
Okay, perfect,
And people can still access it.
oh, nice, yeah.
Okay, there was a discussion, last week from the garden club, and like I said, we'd make a decision this week regarding the holiday lights on the common. And, one thing that was brought up, I wanna make sure that the use of any extension cords to be orange, or if they're not orange, if they're black, they may wrap in engineer tape where it's highly visible. Second is, we had some discussion on the dates. I think as they wanted to go through, January 30th. I think 3 weeks after Christmas is more than adequate. I would like to have it end of January 15th, similar to last year. Gentlemen, you have any issue with that?
I'm okay with leaving it the same.
15?
January 15th. That's our decision. That's when they'll, and after the, they can leave the lights in the trees, but all extension cords that are removed if they're not snow plowed off the common. I remember the comment here, public.
That's a good date, because that's my wedding.
State your name, please.
Okay, station name for the record.
It's a good date. Miss Lean's birthday, but I got my anniversary.
There you go. You enjoy the moonlight, sir. No, I think last year we made a good decision, I think we should stick by it. Why run a electric bill when we don't have it? Even though they're LEDs. Sorry, Lee. All right,
It's over and early.
I'll go out there with you, I'm later.
An email from Woody.
yeah, last time I got an update from the transfer station manager. There was this is what I wanted to talk to the chief about. A person, there was some illegal dumping, and I don't know if it's related, but a person hit the building down there. And
One of the same incident, it's under investigation.
do we have a name, have it identified? Okay, because the thing is, we have an insurance policy, which we have a high deductible, but technically you report this to our insurance company, we should report it as soon as possible. But usually if the person's at fault, their insurance should cover it, not ours. Because if it's a small amount of money, let's say it's $500, we'd be stuck for it if it was a hit and run. If the other person's responsible for it, that's when their insurance will pick it up and they're responsible for it. So I just wanna make sure that our insurance company gets notified for the police report, so I need a police report passed to you.
It's an open criminal investigation, so we can't release anything right now,
Okay.
but we can at least provide, some pedigree information to satisfy the insurance company.
That's all I wanted, I know, so if we don't get the claim in, they'll say, well, too many days have passed. I wanna make sure that we're in the, running to get that. I don't wanna be stuck with $500 bill.
That email just came in today,
You wanna see that?
so,
Yeah.
So I'll take that after as well.
And,
this afternoon.
okay, so. All right, that ends my mailbox, I believe. And I'd open up the public comment. I'll start with the back row.
I got one, I don't know if anybody caught the news this morning. New Hampshire and Massachusetts, the states have, finally decided on, the amount that Massachusetts owes New Hampshire for the loss of taxation on the properties and
Flood
flood
control.
control.
Yes,
Yeah,
And they've also come up with finally a plan, a formula on how to reimburse the state. Now, I don't know if this is gonna be the towns or the state.
I think in the past, past, the state has kept us reimbursed what they thought we would be getting, and they took it for action to deal with this, state of Massachusetts.
It was talked for a while that the state was gonna keep the money.
Right, right,
And I
in
don't
fact,
know if this is.
there was a, as I,
Three states now in town's gonna be out of it, and I was just wondering if anybody had any more information.
Not
No,
yet.
I think what really happens is the state was gonna stop funding our flood control because they weren't getting any money. So now that they're getting the money, they'll probably, I'm not sure what the formula is gonna be.
and there was a bill, from a representative from the Ware area, who was recommending that the state keep all the money.
Yeah, right, I know.
And that was fought hard, and Hopkinton was with us, we fought against that several years back,
Yeah.
and we kept the funding for us.
Right, that makes sense.
And, whether it goes up or down, but I just know we got our fair share this year.
Right, good. Yeah, I just was curious if, you know, if you guys had heard about that.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah,
and the thing is,
today.
and I was listening with my antenna, and so, we're watching that, thank you. Back row, anything else? No?
I must have slipped on that section.
It's on the news today.
Making a second cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Mary, Jeff,
Yeah, no, I got nothing.
get nothing?
Well, I mean, a point of interest,
Okay.
New Hampshire has the second highest number of missing cats. That was on the news too, just so you know.
Thank you for that nice piece of
Feeling of
information.
wildlife in Dunbarton.
Okay, I'm gonna close it to public, I'm gonna
I
sign
got a
it.
comment, but I'm not on camera.
All right, I'm gonna bring it to the town administrator.
The only thing I just wanna remind the board is now we're back to our regular weekly meetings. We'll have three meetings next month, and I'm hoping that maybe next week, the board can be prepared to come up with a strategy meeting that I can pass on to the departments.
As it, but no, the budget preparation.
There's still a few things that I'm working on, like the wage scales that other different departments that the board has asked me to look into now that the tax rate's set. I'll have a little bit of free time to look into that a little closer.
Okay, very good. Justin? David?
Did you wanna talk about, I gave you,
I wanna,
Talk
I
about
wanna
that.
address some other things afterwards.
Well, the thing is, we're gonna go to non-public, so if you wanna discuss in public,
Well, I had, the one thing I wanna discuss is,
Lula,
yeah, I'm gonna have the Lula brought in for the, casinos, have one for the second floor. And in order to do that, we needed a 3-foot door to get into that Lula area. And we had an original bid from Chicoine for $2,000 to do that area with the door and reworking of the framing at the stage and putting new rails up around the Lula. And looking at that door, it was $697 for just the door only, so the $2,100 bill for the framing work and the door at the lift at the stage, I think, is a wise thing for us to go through and process for Chicoine, on that.
do we need a consensus on that?
Yeah, we do, we need a consensus by the board to do it.
Okay, how soon, what's the timeline on that one? Sooner than later?
Yeah, I'd like to do it.
Let's prepare, can you prepare a motion right now for me?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the, alternate on Chicoine's bid for $2,100 even for the, labor and material to fit the Lula in for the stage area and at the library.
Second.
Okay, on the Lula, is that the upgraded Lula that's being donated? Remember they were
That
having,
is a donated Lula, yes.
but there was a,
We're not sure if it's the upgraded one yet, I think
it was a size thing.
we're gonna try the one they have, if that doesn't work, then we'll go with the upgraded one.
Very good. Any other discussion?
I have one other discussion.
No, hang on, we got the vote on the table.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, go ahead.
I got a bid, I can say the amount now, from the drywaller that was on site
Yes, I recall,
to do the 3/8 overlay
to support the
to
drywall.
support the horsehair drywall or plaster from falling off the walls. And that bid came in at $15,000, so I solicited other bids from within town here, and I'm happy to say that, Merrimack Drywall, Guy lives local here in town, and one of the reasons, he moved into town is because they actually went to a, second floor party up there when somebody was engaged here local in town. And, he has offered to supply all of the labor at no charge to the town of Dunbarton. If, we just pay for materials, so I'm gonna offer that to the Casanos and let them know that. So it's gonna be a huge savings, he's willing to do all the work up there for, at no charge. He's that fond of the building, and his wife's that fond of the building, and I asked him if he was 100% sure, and he said he would have offered it if he didn't think he could do it.
Because Casanos have been very grateful and saying they would, if it was a budget killer, they would definitely, help out with the drywall, so that's great.
And, you know, just so you know, that the labor portion of that job is the lion's share, but it's not the material out there, so. It's gonna be a huge savings for not only the Casanos, but the town, so.
I would say let's go
Yeah,
for
we
it.
appreciate it, Tom.
Yeah, make it happen.
A big thank you to Merrimack Drywall and Gee.
Is that something that the Casanos are contributing,
Yes,
donating?
Yeah, so I'll get, as soon as he gives me back the material number, I'll give it to him, but it's substantially reduced, and that was a huge savings.
thank you, Dave.
And it's a fully insured company that we would normally use anyway, so.
They'll do it. When will they do it?
As soon as we get that back from the, approval back from the Stones, I would think.
And the purpose of it is that horse hair is, you can see some
Yeah.
of it's
Oh,
cracking,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we don't want it to, fall apart on us before, after first use.
So that's gonna do it.
After the first clog dance.
They're willing to do the stairway, the old stairway,
Oh, wow.
the stair entry into it, the
Yeah.
main room and the
Storage room?
play area. I imagine the storage too.
How about the records room? You're gonna touch that? The locked records room up there?
That's a storage room, I thought you were talking about.
Oh, no, the one on the other side. On the school
There's-
street side, with the hooks, with the coat hooks all over the,
Oh, that's not, I don't call, that's, I didn't call that storage, it's just, they are doing that area,
yeah.
part of the stairwell.
Exactly. Okay, anything else, Dave?
No, that's it for
Okay,
there.
then, I'd like to make a motion for RSA 91-L for subparagraph 3, Roman number 2, A and B, at the request of, Chief Remenard to go into non-public session. Kaminsky, yes.
No, that's,
Yes. Time is 8:00.